I do believe that. Again, this gets back into ritual sacrifice throughout history, even where, oh God, this is a dangerous concept, dangerous theory. But I'm proposing a theory in the field where even some of the ghosts that we're seeing at murder sites aren't really the ghosts. That's a feeding frenzy for an entity that once again is incarnating as an archetype. Of course, I'm the person that died here. No, you're not. But you are here because they died. That's terrifying. But getting back to, again, the
Almost like a
dynamics of
soul eater. Almost like
something like
they're using us to create these
batteries.
catastrophes. Yeah.
Batteries and avatars. Batteries and avatars. We are hosts. Many of us are avatars to them, replicas of life. And dare I say, again, if we're dealing with the ability of the phenomenon, we're still trying to understand that, honestly, because we think we know what we're experiencing. But even then, it's like, well, how? I mean, we can't say, number one, what I experienced was real without also saying at the same time that they can manipulate the construct of reality. Both of those are occurring. If one thing occurs, the other one had to have occurred before it. The secondary consequence. It's epiphenomenon, not phenomenon, epiphenomenon. Right? Like, okay, yeah, what is it doing? Again, it's forcing a perception of the construct upon us. It's no different than the Truman Show. I want you to perceive the stage managed performance. Watch this, it's crazy. And if I can't control what is seen, I'll control how you see it. Not just the phenomenon. No, I can manipulate it too, but I can also manipulate what you see, what you perceive. So it's right. Okay, yeah, it's not just manifesting to you as the phenomenon. It can also manifest through you as the phenomenon. And we as researchers are trying to discern the difference. And this is again, this is what the call and delete realized was first of all, right? They all had different theological backgrounds, so they're not all fundamentalists. But they pretty much came to the same conclusion, and that was that somehow through ritual, reality is influenced. Jack Parsons, John Dee. And not just that, but there are moments. This is going to be kind of a game changer for those who haven't heard this. So, buckle up, peeps. Where the entities will manifest, will apport an object into this construct and give it to an experiencer or an occultist and communicate through that. Right? So let's go back in time. John B was given by the angel a small mirror to divine through by the phenomenon. Boop, here's the port. There you go. Take it. Now you can communicate, right? You can communicate with it. Albert K. Bender was given a disc by the others, communicated through it to them. Right? Then you get into it's everywhere, but you start realizing, I mean, even Chris Bledsoe was given an object by the phenomenon. Here. Later on, the phenomenon removed it. What are these? They're ports. They're manifestations, materializations from beyond the construct into this reality, and it anchors both. Now, I'm of the opinion that some implants are, in fact, materializations underneath the skin. Let's take it a step further. Dear friend Steve Merritt and Barry Fitzgerald, they're dealing with reports in their field, in their investigations. Like, okay, one couple had an apport that they didn't even know it was an apport. That ought to scare some folk here. Didn't even know it was an apport. But what happened was they had a figurine, and the husband and wife are getting angry. They're in some kind of argument, a dispute, and one of them looks down, and the figurine moving, and so in a fit of anger, they take it, throw it outside, walk back inside. It's right back on the shelf.
Yeah.
Which one was real? The one that got destroyed, or the one that's No, it's the one, right? What's going on here? That's the real question. And so Barry and Steve had these cases that got so prolific and so, I guess, common, where they started thinking to themselves, like, man, this is something's up here. Like, what's going on here? And so finally they had this haunting family as being deeply affected by the paranormal. And they're like, we bought a series of coffee mugs. And Steve just talked about this on his channel. So if you guys want to go there, Steve Bear's channel, you can. It's in a short, by the way, not an actual video. But one day, one of the coffee mugs goes missing. Piques his interest, their interest. It's like, okay, this is strange. What's going on? And a couple months or so go by, I think it was. And next thing you know, you get a phone call. Look, guys, I don't know how we've missed it, but that coffee mug's back. And it's in a location that we've searched over and over again. Like it's right out in plain sight. So the phenomenon replaced it. Because, we got to run a test. We're going to send this off to a laboratory. We're going to run a test on it because that's abnormal. It's paranormal, obviously. That's why we're here. But we kind of got a hunch that there's something deeper at play. Here's why. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the phenomenon does not play around. What we're realizing now is even the poltergeist activity is not a mindless, unguided process. It's the phenomenon, feeling energy. And then once it directs itself to a pathology, a goal, it's already siphoned enough energy out of the environment to now do it, to perform it within construct. So Steve goes, well, you guys have another coffee mug I can kind of control it, look at it, compare it to, this is what a coffee mug should. Well, we bought that coffee mug with a few others. Really? Yeah. Wait a minute. See, they're the same coffee mugs, essentially. Absolutely. Same design, makeup, serial, all of it. Okay, cool. So we sent these off to the laboratory. The laboratory came back with very alarming results. Number one, I think it was the other two or three had the same isotopic ratio, same material, same design, everything was the exact same. The coffee mug that materialized had a separate isotopic ratio, completely different. So the question is, did the phenomenon change the isotopic ratio? Because is it the same mug that was taken? And by virtue of being taken and then returned, it changed the isotopic ratio. That's one theory. Let me propose an entirely different theory. That's not the real coffee mug. It's not the same coffee mug, my friend. It's the phenomenon creating a replica. Something that looks and imitates portions of reality. You can drink coffee out of it, but it's not the same coffee mug.
Well, that's
Now,
go ahead, man. Sorry. Well, I was just about to say that's exactly what these Satanists, these elites, the Satanists, globalists, that's what they do, man. They invert reality. They
yes, of course,
invert,
absolutely.
they create a false version of what reality is. Everything's inverted, just like the coffee cup. That's why I think there's a connection with certain global players and this phenomena.
Oh, you're exactly right, and we're going to get there. It's fascinating stuff. So again, they're thinking like this is a problem. Like this is a major problem. And then they had another case that kind of tied everything into a bow and then leaves us with another startling implication. And that was that, again, not an apparition, but an apport took place and manifested in a home full of activity. And so Barry and Steve said, you know what? We're kind of getting tired of this. We're going to do something. They took the apport out of the home, placed it in a storage area, let it be. So the next day they get a phone call from the family. Hey guys, you guys are the best researchers we've had. Thank you for what you've done for our family. The phenomenon's gone. Steve Barry said, no, it's not. It's triangulating. Now, I did this the other day. Somebody's like, no, that's a circle. It's triangulating, right? Triangulating. And so they ran an experiment. They took the apport, put it back in the home. Let's go to dinner. Let's see what's going to happen. Same phenomenon that had apported that in the home, that triangulated, was searching for it. And as soon as it was replaced, right back where the phenomenon needed it to be, it created another connection, a portal for that phenomenon to incarnate into this construct. Paranormality occurred. Boom. Orbs, all kinds of stuff. The anchor. Now, the phenomenon will replicate objects in this reality in which to anchor itself to. Take a step further, Nathaniel, if you ask. Thank you. Will. Now, late one night or early one morning, forget which, because he and I live in different time zones. Up on the phone, I'm like, man, I think I've heard of apports before, but it's not in the context of hauntology and parapsychology. It's in the context of demonology. And I kept racking my brain. I'm telling you, like for a whole day. And so I'm scrambling through my grimoires, scrambling through Hostage the Devil and any and all books on demonology. And I realized, like, oh my God, I've heard of that in demon possession.
I think this is where when you gave me a phone call one day, you said you had this epiphany or something like that.
Might have been. It might have been. Okay. So I started getting this. Okay, it's replicating reality. Yes. So if something isn't there, it will place something there that it won't make sense. It'll catch the eye, but it'll try to act like it's a part of this reality, but we know it's not. Even getting back to the archetypes that incarnate from orbs, we have cryptids that are walking on 2 feet. They're barely moving, but they're keeping up with the pace of a 45-mile-an-hour car. No way it should be happening because it's not really happening. It's a construct. It's a program. It's rendering into our reality. And sometimes there are glitches where it doesn't have it all right. And we see it. Oh, yeah. You don't even have the food source to be a wolf man out here. So you're lying. Kind of am. Kind of am lying now. Now that you nailed me. And so my point is that it will create constructs and anchor itself to them. Specifically, again, in this context, in the haunting was when they're trying to get the phenomenon out of the house. It said, absolutely not. Manifest an apport, anchor myself to it. You're not kicking me out. We've heard that in demonology. We've heard that in exorcisms. When the priest is interfacing with the entity, and the entity's just about to leave, but it doesn't know what else to do, so it will start to regurgitate from the cavity of the demoniac apports. It will replicate physiological constructs. It will replicate apports, materializations. Why? In demonology, again, well, it's trying to terrify us. No. It's replicating, it's anchoring itself, transferring from the person to the object. It just materialized in this construct. Did you eat nails, demoniac? Absolutely not. Why? Because you didn't eat nails. That's the phenomenon. Did you buy that coffee cup? Absolutely not. Right? Or is that the same figurine? No, I just destroyed it. What is it? It's something. The phenomenon is replicating, separating, and then will latch itself to it, anchor its presence in this construct. Now, that means there's 2 possibilities. Either we're dealing with a species that is in complete control of the construct, or a species that's fighting for control of the construct. And I think the latter is the case. Here's why. Because they cannot hold their form for too long. They can't. They lean on a learning matrix to incarnate. We know that through abduction accounts, where, okay, like it's almost like it has to pull from energy to hold its form, and then once that bank is empty, right? It has to. Oh my God, what can I be now? I can't be your favorite cartoon anymore. No, what am I gonna do? Right? It either anchors itself or it leaves So when you look at this and you look at the fact that you have partial rendering, where it's not even fully materialized, it's an image rendering itself into the construct. You look at the programming, right? Well, I'm your dear Aunt Edna. Why? Because I chose to be that. Till I can't be that any longer, or I decide not to, something else happens. My point, though, is again, there are mechanisms that it weaponizes in order to either control portions of reality or our perception of it. And now what we're seeing is that's the same mechanism. And I believe it's the same reason. You're trying to kick it out of the house, it manifests in the port to anchor itself to. You're trying to kick it out of the person, it manifests in the port to anchor itself to. So, whatever we're dealing with, we only know because we saw the black cat. You see that? Yeah, that's a glitch. Whatever that is, the program failed. We've seen this all throughout the history of the phenomenon. Forget about demonology. Again, we can go into witch literature, Ariel Masters. I've mentioned it in hundreds of interviews where witches and sorcerers believed they were being abducted by demons. Why? Because that was the program that was being run on them. It appealed to their senses and their belief system, both. Combining both, it manipulated their perception of reality and, more importantly, their perception of the entities. Because these same individuals who thought, now, this is another crazy model of phenomenon, they're performing rituals. That happened. That's true. We know that even in modernity. Jack Parsons, Crowley, all of that. We know that's still present. But my point is, these individuals were abducted by demons and thought they were copulated with corpses of demons, and they realized like the phenomenon glitched. They're looking around, and they're not on the backside of the mountain. They're being poked and prodded by metallic objects that were designed according to the measure of a man. It is fulfilling the sensual art of our awareness to help further our perception of reality. Ah, only this time, that's not even a man, that's a machine. So they were performing rituals in the presence of machinery and technology. What are we dealing with here? Again, that doesn't make any sense. Well, my point here, ladies and gentlemen, bear with me, is that yes, this indicates a construct, and that the newest data coming forward, and I can't go too far into this, of course, is that the sigils are some kind of code that help construct much of the reality that these practitioners are trying to control. That they, whatever they are, it's a novel species, at least to the field. Early demonologists had no way to quantify them. It's a demon until it secretes and impregnates a woman. What is that? No. Even Christian mythology, Nephilim, and Jewish demonology has no room for that. In jinn sorcery, to a degree, but at least they talk about replication. But whatever we're dealing with, again, I do believe it's exactly what the Collins elite realized was forget about the dogma, look at the data. People are projecting dogma on their work. No, their conclusion was there's something in the afterlife. And we've heard rumors of that, even with the whistleblowers. Whatever we're dealing with exists outside of space-time. It knows who's going to die. It knows when they're going to die. It knows what clothes they're going to be wearing when they die. And it's in control, or is fighting for control over this construct in the afterlife. Where are they at in the afterlife? Okay, what kind of a species would be performing sex magic on us, but would somehow exist in the afterlife? That's interesting. Why is it that the occult practices we're discovering right now in abductees are earthly born? Even iconography. No. Again, even sigilization, according to classic occultism, even Western occultism specifically, it's the sigil of the entity written, performed by the practitioner. Okay. What about sigils that are underneath the skin? What kind of species could do that? What kind of a species could change the physiology of the skin the sigils were in? What? Again, what? Like, okay, guys, Just be honest about it. And it's not even the fact that a lot of people don't even know this is happening. They don't believe it. The fact is, it is occurring, you know. But a lot of times, because the inability to quantify exists, like I don't know where to place that, I'd rather not talk about it. But by all implications here and indications, it appears that we're dealing with someone who is still performing their occult rituals in the afterlife or outside of space time upon our species. And they're following certain occult traditions that are earthly born, earthly performed. And that raises a major problem.